Good evening and welcome to this regular session of the Grant County Council. Tonight, the prayer will be led by Mr. Connor with the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Lemming. If you would stand.
I invite you to pray with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this chance to be together tonight and do the work of the people. We thank you for having a democracy where we can do this. Give us all good servants' hearts to do the right thing. Give us discernment and good judgment. Bless our leaders and first responders here and abroad. It's in your Son's name that I pray and for his sake. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you could do the roll call, please.
Scott.
Here.
Connor.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Perez.
Mr. Perez was said to be online at some point during this evening.
Bowling.
You see him?
Yep.
Is he online?
Not yet.
Lemming.
Here.
Middlesworth.
Here. We do have a quorum. Next item this evening is the auditor's report.
In front of you, you have your general fund and health insurance fund balances. We still retain healthy balances in those two funds. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions regarding the auditor's report? If there's no questions, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. The first minutes before us this evening are the special session of October the 2nd, 2024. Are there any corrections to be made in the minutes? There are no corrections. I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Poling to accept the Grant County Council special session minutes of October the 2nd, 2024 as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The next minutes before us this evening for approval are the regular session minutes of October the 16th of 2024. Are there any corrections or errors that need to be addressed in those minutes? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve the Grant County Council regular session minutes from October the 16th, 2024. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
I was abstaining.
One abstention. Motion still carries. Minutes are approved. We'll move on to new business, and before we move on, I'll add an item to old business. Item E, the sheriff's request regarding Jonesboro from the last meeting. We'll go ahead and start with new business. Item A, Grant County Superior Court 2, Jason McVicker with discussion regarding a referee position.
For the record, I'm with Judge Grant Superior Court 3.
Oh, 3. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. And it appears we have a very busy agenda, but I have an idea that I believe deserves some deliberation by the council. The idea is that if Grant Superior Court 3 could be appointed a referee, what that could do to combat jail overcrowding, I think could be a major, it could actually help us determine, do we really need a new jail or not? And what I believe that a referee could help, the aspects that a referee could help with would be the referee, to begin with, the referee would take all level 6 felonies and OWIs, which all the other misdemeanors are handled by one of our city courts, in which I'm very familiar. Either been the prosecutor of city courts or the judge of city courts, very familiar with how important and valuable our city courts are. And they handle their cases, which are numerous and voluminous, and they're very courts of high volume. But if we had a referee in Grand Superior Court 3 that could handle all level 6 felonies and OWIs, then what would happen is our court could become a court. Right now, we only handle level 6 felonies. We could be a court that could handle level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 level felonies. And the folks that we have in the jail is folks that are not held on level 6 felonies. They're held on higher level felonies. And so what needs to happen is we need to be given these folks that are held as inmates in the Grant County Jail, we need to give them their trial. And what's happening now is we've got courts that are handling higher level felonies that are having congested speedy trials, congested early trials. So you've got folks that are asking for early trials, and they're not getting the early trials because they're being congested to another court date. We shouldn't have early trials that are being congested. If anybody wants a trial, they should have their trial. And I say this coming just from a jury trial. We just had a jury trial. The jury came back within the last hour. So we need to be courts that are giving people their jury trials. And the other thing I think it would help with is that if you take level 6s from all the courts, now our court of high volume, it would take all of our level 6s and OWIs, but it would also take level 6s from all the other courts. And if you took all the level 6 felonies from all the other courts, those courts could be more focused and be able to spend their attention on the higher level felonies and really start to determine, do we need a new jail, or do we need a new way of looking at handling cases? And the information that I've got is information that everybody's aware of. Is we've got current inmates in Fulton County 68, Tipton 17. We are paying substantial amounts of money. I don't need to tell anybody this, to house paying other counties hundreds of thousands of dollars to house our inmates. And what we need to do is we need to bring down our inmate population to where we're not paying other counties to house our inmates. So I have a lot of information here. I know we have a very busy agenda. I certainly don't want to dominate that agenda. And it's an idea, that I pose to the council, and it's going to require more work on my part, which I've already signed up to do. If this is something the council wants to move forward with, it's going to require our court to supervise the referee, to sign off on all court orders. It's going to require us to have an additional staff member, and so I'm going to supervise an additional staff member, which I'm happy to do. I also have spoke with, and there's a lot of information, and I definitely don't want to dominate tonight's agenda, but I've had deep discussions with the prosecutor's office and the public defender's office, who have both come back and indicated they don't need an additional employee. They do not. And a lot of those discussions were, well, where's this court going to be held at? Is it going to be held in Gas City? Is it going to be held in Marion? And my firm belief is it needs to be held in Marion. It needs to be, if it was held here, which would be ideal, the inmates wouldn't even have to leave the building. And so if we could have court here as an idea, then that would be ideal. And it would also mean that it would be less of a responsibility for our sheriff they wouldn't have to leave the building. And as far as the public defender, they wouldn't need an additional employee, nor would the prosecutor's office. I've confirmed that with both Bruce Elliott and Scott Hunt, who Scott Hunt was the prosecutor in our trial today. So I've had recent discussions with Scott as of today. Now, we do need it's been requested. I've talked to all stakeholders, which is important. I want to make sure that everybody has buy-in, everybody's serious about, what we're doing and why we're doing it. I've had discussions, have an email here with Grant County Probation. They do need an additional probation officer. And the reason they need an additional probation officer is because if this plan works, then we're going to be putting a lot more folks on formal probation, informal probation. We're resolving a lot more cases to where they feel that it is necessary for them to have an additional probation officer. So, and I have the numbers. She's always so thorough. She was thorough and sent me all this information as to what it would cost for a new probation officer with 4 to 9 years of experience. But we want to put that probation officer to work. We want to make that probation officer, they're going to have a lot to do. And this referee, as I see it, would be a situation where the referee would work 3 full days a week. And the salary, I think, makes sense, would be 3/5 of the magistrate salary. And we're going to keep that referee very busy because most of the filings, criminal filings in Grant County, are level 6 felonies or OWIs. That is the makeup of most of the court's criminal dockets. We have thousands of those cases, and if they can be handled outside of the court's dockets, it can free the courts up to handle these more serious felony cases. And I don't know how much information that the council wants. I'm certainly happy to answer all questions. Do I have all of the answers to all of the questions? Maybe, maybe not. I can get those answers. If I don't have them tonight. And as I said, this is an idea. This is something that I want the council's input on. Do I think it's a good idea? I do. I think in a year, we're going to know, does this work? Is this making revolutionary changes on our inmate population or not? And I think it has the ability and the potential to do exactly that for all the reasons I've already stated. I don't know if anybody has any questions specifically about referee, Mr. Connor.
Yes, I think one thing I would like to have the council have information-wise to consider this, which sounds like a pretty good idea if it helps us avoid building a jail because of that expense. How does Grant County compare per individual's population as far as the number of judges and courts? In other words, if we looked at our population, a county with a similar population, how many courts and judges and magistrates and referees do they have?
That's a great question. And the state puts together those statistics, and I went to the most what's required, and I only go to the what's required. I don't voluntarily, I think being present is what we need to be involved in, and being at the courthouse and handling matters. But I did go to our annual conference, which is required. And at our annual conference, what was determined through extensive study is that Grant County ranks number 7 out of 92 counties on case weight. So that's what they have determined, that's what they've determined. We rank 7.
I know it's not completely driven by population, because if you have a higher crime rate, that may not necessarily correlate with your population, but that's some information that we could consider.
Yes, and I think the numbers I'm talking about is where are you in line with a new court? If you're number 1, I think you're number 1 and you're in line for a new court. If you're number 7, I don't know, and here's why. Because to open up a new court, they've determined that they have to close another court. And so if you're going to close another court and you're going to affect the well-being and livelihood of the staff and everybody involved in that court, those are difficult decisions to make. So do I think that they're going to be shutting down courts, creating new courts? I think
Where would a court have to be shut down? Another county?
Yes.
Okay, because
Yes.
there's a limited number across the state of Indiana.
Yes, they're talking about if we're going to create a new court, we need to shut one down. Now, do the numbers justify? I don't want to pick on certain counties, but I will if you ask. But the reality is there are some counties that could close courts. There are some counties that could close courts, and that needs to happen to have the ability to open up a new court here in Grant County. If there's a new court in Grant County, it would be at least 2 years away. So what we're talking about is something that could be in the works for 2 years. Do we want to keep in this same pattern for 2 years? I don't know that we can sustain that. And so I think being 7th is high. I think that's a high number. It's a single-digit number. But does it mean we're going to get a new court? I don't know. I don't feel very confident that means we're going to get a new court, because talking about closing a court, it affects a lot of people, especially in that court. Whether they're going to close that court, I think they're going to fight to stay alive, and I think that's going to be a lot of that's going to be a difficult task to close courts. Although I would say that you could justify closing some courts based on the numbers.
I got a couple questions.
Sure, Jeff.
A month ago, Chronicle the state put out the top 10. Okay, caseload. We weren't in the top 10. Okay, that was just a month ago. I have another question.
No, I want to answer that one though real quick. Is that I don't know what you're talking about, because I used to have a subscription to the Chronicle Tribune. I don't any longer, so I don't know what that
The
is.
same case, what you're talking about, the caseload for each court. We weren't 7th. We wasn't even in the top 10.
We're number 7, and I can bring that information. I can actually.
Email to me.
I will, and I think I've emailed the council before. No, that we are number 7, and that's a fact.
Now I got another question.
Sure.
Me and Shane's been walking through these buildings for months. There's more Fridays we have no court than we do. Okay, my question is, not your court.
No, it's a fair question. I'm ready to answer it
Okay.
because I'm ready
And
to
this is
come on
what-
Friday.
Well, this is how I figured. All you judges get elected by the county people
Correct?
to work for the county people.
I understand that fully.
Okay, here's my question. How can these courts be closed on Fridays when you're overloaded and we're paying all this money for these people to be shipped out? That makes no sense to me.
Well, what I can do, and I'm happy to do this, is I can invite every single member of the council to come Monday through Friday, to come 8 to 4, and you can visit our court any of those times, and you can find that we are going to be, you're going to watch something happen. And if you were hour and a half ago, you'd be waiting for the jury to come back with a verdict. So there's no question that we're number 7 for a reason.
So we
So
was just over there. Mr. Quirk, was you with us Friday?
I was there.
Was the courts locked?
The ones we checked were locked.
did you check, I mean, just, you're asking me the question, did you check our court?
No, you and Meeks were there. The other 2 is always closed, every Friday. Now, I've been walking over maybe 3 Fridays out of 6 months. Okay? That's 2 courts, guys. Okay? Now, I'm on community corrections too. Okay? Now, all we've heard is, we ain't got enough public defenders. Scott ain't got enough prosecutors, okay? Now, all of a sudden, everybody's got enough. But we still ain't having court on Fridays, the other 2 judges. Now, no matter what you say, you guys want a referee, but shouldn't them other 2 judges come in here for Friday for 6 months and let's see what we can move out of there? Let's have court every 5 days a week?
Well, I can hopefully answer your question. I certainly want to answer everyone's question. Number one, this is just an idea. If the council doesn't think it's a good idea, then I respect that. But number 2, if in fact we do get a referee, what our court, I can speak about our court because I can speak about all the courts probably, but I can definitely speak about our court, is our plan for having a referee would be this, is that we have small claims. And so if you ever want to see some business be handled, come over on a Thursday because we have almost everyone in Grant County there. So Thursdays, what we have to do if we're going to be a court that's going to handle higher level felonies, my plan is to move small claims to Friday because that's the only day that we could do that because you're going to prosecute everything from the speeding ticket to capital death penalty, murder, and everything in between. So I'm certainly qualified to know that murder trials could take longer than a week, and we can't continue our small claims docket in the afternoon when it's not unusual to have 82, 114 in the morning, probably 36 to 47 cases, and that's in the morning and afternoon. Moving those cases to Friday and letting our juries know that your weekend's going to be a 3-day weekend. We're going to have juries from Monday through Thursday. So I've already made those type of ideas and plans if the referee is approved to where we can just move right into having small claims on Friday, which would mean that Friday is going to be particularly busy. So that's my plan for Friday.
Well, I think, I used to be married to the judge that ran that court. I think you guys need to go back and look how she ran it because she did all them cases and she moved them. And she was probably one of the best judges we ever had in this county.
I was a prosecutor in front of Natalie, so I know exactly, the way she
I'm
ran
not
her
saying
court.
that, I'm not disagreeing with the referee. I'm just asking, why can't these other judges show up? Since we're so overloaded and work 5 days a week and see what you guys can do before we start wanting to add more money to the taxpayer again.
Well, here's what I think, and I don't know if this is answering your question or not, because I want to answer everyone's question, is that it would appear to me, and I did not major in math at Purdue, but it would appear to me that we're paying over $1 million a year to house our inmates out of county, and so it's probably north of that number. And so, I think that taking another look at how we deal with these cases is a good idea. And if this idea needs to be tweaked, I welcome all of those ideas that anyone has. I'm not the reservoir of all great ideas. What I'm saying is this, is that we need to think outside the box. And if we can get level 6 felonies and OWIs handled by a referee who is not taking up space as the courthouse, who could function here or somewhere in this proximity here, Marion City Council chambers, County Council chambers, then what we can do as courts is our court can immediately become a court that can handle high-level felonies. And those are the inmates that are housed at our jail. and they need to have their trials. They need to be found not guilty or guilty. They need to have their cases resolved. And so what I'm saying is I'm pledging to this council and all of Grant County that if you want Grant Superior Court 3 to be part of this solution, I'm happy to do it. And if we got great ideas as to how to better do it, I'm in favor of that, because I do know as an elected official how humbling it is to be voted into office. I mean, I go to work every day trying to earn back the trust and faith that Grant County put in me to be judge of Grant Superior Court 3. So that's how strongly I feel about, my position. So I want, every day I go to work, I want to earn back the faith and trust that people had in me. And I think that we need to do something about this jail issue, and this is my solution. Is it the best idea? Maybe not, but it's an idea.
You don't think the other judges ought to be held accountable and go to court 5 days a week? You're just basically, this is going to help you, and that's what you're worried about, helping your court, getting these people through there. I understand what you're saying, and I know you're a good judge, but what I'm saying is, guys, we got 2 judges that's not going to court every week. Come on, guys, you got to call this out what it is.
I respectfully disagree. All of our judges are very busy. All of our judges are handling a tremendous amount of cases. And let me say this. I don't know if I'm clearly answering the question. This doesn't help Grant Superior Court 3. This makes Grant Superior Court 3 a ton busier, because we're going to end up inheriting all of the level 6 felonies from all the other courts. So it doesn't help Grant Superior Court 3. I'm going to be in charge of a lot more responsibility with the new staff member. If one is given, one is needed, one is given. I'm going to have to sign off on all the referees' orders. I'm going to have to supervise that court, along with handle all the other matters that we're currently handling. So this idea doesn't lessen our cases. It creates more responsibility for Grant Superior Court.
It basically, let me just jump in here, guys.
Please.
Basically, you're trying to streamline it.
We're trying to give people their trials, and I'll give an example, because I guess I am here to defend the judiciary, because I don't know if anybody else is here. The judges are very busy in all the courts, and we're handling a lot of matters, and that's my position because I work there, and I know that to be true. So I can give an example. Judge Todd, he's having early trials that are congested. People, this is a fact. He's having early trials that are congested, so people can't even have their early trial because they're moved because they're congested. We should not have any courts, Judge Todd's or anyone else's courts, having congested early trials. That should not be happening. We should be giving folks their trial. If they want an early trial, they should have an early trial.
So let me ask you something. If somebody asks us for an early trial, a speedy trial, and you guys can't give it to them in that year, you got to let them go?
Well, we're using different terms. A year would be like a 4C dismissal. 70 days to give somebody their early trial. If it's, and I think the terms are important. And so if somebody doesn't get their trial within 70 days, they can be congested because there was other speedy trials that went before them. So then they're going to get their early trial, but they're going to get congested and pushed back.
But isn't it a state law when you ask for a speedy trial, they have to have you in court within the year?
70 days is when you have to have your...
Well, yeah, but I'm saying they have to have you in court. This is no different than the Shane Bill deal. They didn't get Shane in court. He asked for a speedy trial. They didn't get him in a year, and they dismissed all the charges.
Well, it's called early trial, and the year is this, because this happens a lot. It's that if you have
early and speedy, correct?
Well, there's early trials is what it is. Within 70 days, you have to give someone their early trial. Now, it can be bounced because it's congested. Now, if someone's not had their case prosecuted in a year, it can be dismissed. It's a 4C dismissal, and that happens if the prosecutor's office is not pushing the case. I have had to dismiss cases because they haven't been moved on in a year. Yes, we're using different terms, but yes.
Judge, I like the idea of the referee position when Mr. Glickfield and we had lunch and presented a little bit of the idea of the referee. Do you see it as a long-term solution, or could this be like a 2-year solution to get us?
Yes.
Through?
Yes, I see it as I don't see it as a long-term solution at all. What I see it is a stopgap until we can get Grant Superior Court 4. Because I've also been part of the wars in city court, where the Marion City Court Council, for good reason, wants to they don't want to be in the court business anymore. And I've heard that the Gas City Council doesn't want to be in the court business anymore. And I also understand all the reasons why they don't want to be in the court business. I understand all of that.
We got a letter this evening from Gas City Court I'm just going to go ahead and read it into the record.
Please.
It says, "This letter is to update you on the future of the Gas City Court. The city administration has come to the point in time where the city can no longer absorb the losses of Gas City Court without some assistance from Grant County. The administration has calculated that the city has absorbed approximately $100,000 per year to support the court since 2014. And in addition to expenses per the year for our police officers to attend court at an approximately cost of $5,900 per year to appear during the court proceedings and to transport prisoners on warrants from the surrounding counties. The court so far in 2024 has processed over 3,500 traffic and ordinance violations, over 1,000 criminal cases. It is estimated that 75% of these offenses are beyond the city limits of Gas City. The Gas City Court currently processes cases for the Grant County Prosecutor's Office, deferrals and pretrial diversion cases, Department of Natural Resources, Fairmount Police Department, Grant County Sheriff's Department, Indiana State Police, Jonesboro Police Department, Matthews Police Department, Swayze Police Department, Sweetser Police Department, Upland Police Department, Van Buren Police Department. You can see how important it is for Grant County to continue operating the Gas City Court, but the city of Gas City cannot and will not continue to paying the shortfall. We are open to discuss to see if something can be negotiated on behalf of Gas City and the Grant County Council. If terms cannot be negotiated, the administration will close the court. Thank you for your consideration. We look forward to your prompt response, Mr. Mayor Rock, Gas City. So I guess after knowing that, do you see that any possibility of getting the additional court any sooner?
If you close down the both city courts.
I don't know the answer to that on an emergent basis. I don't know the answer to that. What I have heard is that it's going to be a minimum of 2 years to get a new court. That's what I've heard. And so I can get more information on that. I'm happy to do that.
Do you see this referee position?
It's temporary. I do, because I don't know how we sustain what we're doing for 2 years. And I do believe that Grant County warrants another court. And I believe that is the ideal solution for a number of reasons. It's the ideal solution. I don't have to supervise a referee. I don't have to supervise another employee. I don't have to do any of the things I just talked about. We can have another elected position to where he or she takes over their court and handles their court how they see fit. That's the best solution. So, but I don't know how you wait 2 years. The other thing is, and yes, being Marion City Court judge, being Marion City Court prosecutor, being all the things that I have done in 25 years, I've done a lot of things. And I've been through these wars. And the one thing, and I understand why Gas City doesn't want to be in the court business. I understand why Marion doesn't want to be in the court business. But the reality is this, is that if you're going to shut down a court, that is a statutory process that's involved, because defendants' due process rights are impacted by these decisions. You've got, in our city courts, you've got inmates who want the early trials. You've got people, you've got folks on probation. You've got all these tentacles of all these cases, thousands and thousands of cases, that you just can't just shut it down. So, I mean, I understand what Mayor Rock is talking about. It's not lost on me what the reasons for all of this, because I've heard all those reasons from the Marion City Council every single year that I went to the budget meetings, and I totally get it. I absolutely understand it. But what needs to happen is, if we're going to do this, then there needs to be a committee formed, and all the stakeholders need to be part of that committee, and they need to be engaged in that decision making. There's to be a plan that's set up to shut down Gas City Court or Marion City Court. That's what needs to happen. You just can't. I'm not saying Mayor Rock's doing this, but you can't just write a letter and shut a court of law down. You can't. That's not the way that it works. You've got so many things going on. And I don't say this without independent knowledge. I was the prosecutor of Gas City Court. I was the prosecutor of Marion City Court. I was a judge of Marion City Court. I understand city court maybe better than anyone. And so there has to be a process involved. And all the stakeholders, as I indicated, have to be involved in this decision making. It's the only way it's going to work.
Judge, have you prepared a budget regarding the referee position?
You know, other than what I've said, I've got, I guess no is the answer, because I don't know that I have all of the information necessary at this point. I have spent a considerable amount of time tracking down the information I do have, but there need to be, you know, if it's going to be the county council chambers, which makes the most sense, then I don't know all of the technology that's going to be needed or what that's going to cost. What I do know is I have probation's numbers here. I do believe if we're going to keep a referee very busy, and we would with all the level 6s and OWIs, I do believe that that would be a position that would keep an individual busy 3 full days a week, and I do believe that the salary would merit 3/5 of a magistrate's salary. So I do believe those are the expenses that I'm aware of.
Am I correct that this is basically just an introductory thing tonight to get the idea out there to begin the discussions?
Yes, there needs to be
Yeah, so
these discussions.
You don't have all the information, but now you know some of the things we're curious about, and
Yes.
we can start the dialogue, correct?
Yes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you the information that we're number 7. That's easy to find. I know where that is.
And I hope you can tell, I think Mr. Polling's questions about Fridays for judges is fair. I mean, the people have the right to know that, but I think that just tells you some of the things we need to know about, and I'm presuming you can't speak for other courts.
I'm not trying to do that, but if I need to defend the other courts, I'm happy to do that because all the courts are very, very busy, and that's my firm position. And I would, once again, I'm going to invite everybody to come to, and I'm just speaking for myself now, I'll narrow it down to just me because I'm speaking for myself. If anyone in this room wants to come to Grant Superior Court 3 on a Monday at 8 a.m. through a Friday at 4 p.m., please do so because I take very few vacations and we're always busy. So I will personally be there, and I don't have any vacations planned the rest of the year. So
Let me get this clear. I ain't questioning you being the judge. I'm questioning the two that's not there on Fridays and judge. We've been walking up there for months. This ain't like you want to uphold them, but when we go in there for months and maybe 3 times out of 6 months, I even checked Judge Spitzer's record. In 36 Fridays, he worked 17. How do you do that when we're behind and you're working for the people? That's my question.
well, I don't know. I mean, I can answer that question. Is that circuit court is very, very busy, and that's my position because I am there every single day. And so, once again, I'm not trying to speak only about myself because that's not the kind of person that I am. I'm going to defend the entire judiciary because we're all very busy. But anybody in this county can come watch us work in Grant Superior Court 3, and we'll put on a show for everybody. You could have been there earlier today. We had a jury trial yesterday and today.
Judge, I'm not talking about Superior Court 3.
Well, I'm not sure.
And you can't speak for the other ones is what I'm saying. I'm not giving you none, but Judge, you're saying you're speaking for all of them. Me and Shane have seen this eye to eye. Mr. McCourt was with us. The doors were locked. There was no court. It's been like that.
Judge,
And I'm not disagreeing with it. Your court might need a referee to help you guys catch up and get on the even. I understand where you're coming from. But still, guys, it takes everybody to fix this problem. When you got 2 judges ain't in there on Fridays, they're not helping fix the problem. I don't care how busy they are. You're not that busy.
I'm going to interrupt here.
Well, I want to say one last thing, and maybe not necessarily about what I've said my piece on the situation. Here's what I'm saying in a nutshell, is that our court, Grant Superior Court 3, there's no reason that our court can't handle higher level felonies. There's no reason. There's nothing that prevents that. And there's arguably no one who's been more well prepared with 25 years of what I've been up to handle these cases. And we can handle these cases if we don't have all these level 6s and OWIs, and we can get into the meat of what's happening at the jail. Those folks are not being held on level 6 felonies and OWIs. They're being released on their own recognizance or through meaningful hearings or through they bonded out or whatever they did, and they're not the folks that are taking up space in our jail. The higher level felonies are, and if you had another court, our court, that can handle high level felonies, and we can do that right now, then it's going to make a major impact on our jail population. It will.
Okay, Judge, I think moving forward, let's create a committee to go ahead and figure out what a budget would be for a referee. You email me who the stakeholders are you want to be a part of that committee. Obviously, it'll be 3 council members. But I think that we need to move in a direction that is preparing us for that referee position in this chambers, or so to speak, location, technology, budget, and we'll reconvene next month and see what we come up with.
I know how to email everybody, so I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to get you the information you've asked. If anybody else has any more information, and if I hijack this meeting, I apologize. But those are my ideas.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Appreciate it.
I have a list of 6 questions. Can I ask these questions? I've been waiting patiently
Yes.
to ask these questions.
Well, I'm not going anywhere.
I can't get 2 words in what's going on. But first of all, thanks for coming up and bringing this to our attention. The sending them inmates out of county is a relatively new phenomenon. I'm not convinced of the numbers that we have of the number of people going through that case warrants the number that we have sitting over in the jail. Us sending the number of people out of county is relatively new that we're dealing with right now. So as you were talking, I tried to come up with 6 questions that I think would help in this process, and I can email these to you. But I just wanted to, in transparency, as the public knows, and I can make these grammatically correct. I was just trying to write down a list of questions that I feel would help in this process. First of all was if it's possible to get caseload numbers from probation, adult probation, of the number of probationers that each probation officer is supervising. Can we get a breakdown of the jail population based upon the level of offense? So how many are in on level 1s, level 2s, 3, 4, 5, 6? How many are awaiting pretrial? How many are awaiting speedy trial? How many of the inmates that we have are in jail on continuances? And how many of those inmates are on multiple continuances? And then how many cases are being heard by each court per week? I mean, we can go back 6 months, a year, I'm okay. But I think if we can get a snapshot of these questions, that will certainly help us moving forward.
And I made notes. Would you mind sending me? You have
I'll
my
just
email?
let you take this.
Yeah.
I will screenshot this and I will
Text it or
this.
email it that way. I mean, I took notes, but
It was quick. I was wanting to be.
No, and that's good. That's good information the council certainly needs. So, and then the judiciary meets once a month, at least once a month, to discuss important issues. And this is certainly something that will appear on our December agenda. I can assure everyone of that. So,
Thank you.
no, thank you.
I appreciate the questions, Mr. Scott.
I don't want to
Question.
cut anybody else off. I know we have a busy, I can tell you have a busy agenda. Anything else?
I hope so.
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Who would want to serve on the committee?
I mean, I will. If somebody else wants to take my place, that's fine, but I'll be happy to serve.
Okay. We'll move on to the next item under new business, item B, Central Dispatch Kevin Hicks with the transfer of appropriations within E911 fund and transfer of appropriation within 4922. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, how are you? I'm requesting to transfer $43,000 to my salaries, proposing to take, from salaries to $42,000 to overtime and $1,000 to holiday pay for my 4922. And then from 1222, $5,000 from maintenance to overtime.
Are there any questions regarding the transfer request?
Just to follow up, Mr. Hicks, it's because we're still short-staffed.
Correct.
Thank you.
And my part-time employees do get paid out of the overtime budget as well. And just for your information, we are down short 3.
Make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve within Fund 4922, transfer from salaries in the amount of $43,000 to be distributed to overtime, part-time in the amount of $42,000, to holiday $1,000, which gives you the total of $43,000. And then within 1222, a transfer from maintenance in the amount of $5,000 to overtime. Are there any questions or comments regarding the transfer? This will be good for the end of the year, you think? Is there any public input? If you want to add input, come to the podium and state your name and your address. Roll call, please.
Connor,
Yes.
Lemming,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Hicks, Poling, Middleworth.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item under new business, item C, Grant County Assessor Rhonda Wiley with an additional appropriation within the Sales Disclosure Fund. Good evening.
No. This is where we gave the raise. We had to come back to do additional appropriation at the end of the year.
Are there any questions? The additional appropriation has been advertised. It's in the amount of $1,437 in salaries, Social Security, and the amount of $122, and perf in the amount of $224. If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion for Mr. Connor, a second for Mr. Poling to approve the additional appropriation within the Grant County Assessor's Sales Disclosure Fund in the amount of $1,437 to salaries, in the amount of $122 to Social Security, and the amount of $224 to perf. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Connor,
Yes.
Poling,
Yes.
Scott,
Aye.
Hicks.
Yes.
Is Perez online?
No.
Okay. Lemming,
Aye.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries.
Do I stay for the old or that one?
Go ahead and do the old.
Oh, okay, great.
The appointment to the Peterborough Board. Mr.
I can
Levin,
wait.
let me find. So we did advertise the appointment to the Peterborough Board at our last meeting, and we did not receive a single application
me.
to volunteer to serve on that Peterborough Board. So if there's anybody here, for next year that would like to serve, I'm sure it'll be advertised again. But I'll turn it over to the committee chairman at this time, the appointing committee chairman, Mr. Lemming.
So we have Richard Cox, right? So we have.
Yeah, it's not spelled right. I forgot the H.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be Richard, not Richard. Not Richard.
And Elizabeth.
And he's been on there for a while, and we
Yeah.
also have Elizabeth Wright. So that's who we.
Kelly's the only
recommend.
new one. Kelly Rock's the only one.
But she used to work in your office, so we know her.
Yes. She's been out long enough to be able to. Yeah.
So we wouldn't have any problems with that.
So we'll go ahead and make the motion.
So that would be my motion to accept these as appointed. Kelly Rock, Judy Alford, Richard Cox, Chad Roots.
Well, that's the commissioners. Yours is just the Chad Roots and Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah, Elizabeth Wright.
Yeah. Sorry, I just should both on there so you knew all of them.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Lemming, a second for Mr. Poling to go ahead and appoint to the Peterborough Board, which the term's just,
It's 1 year.
is it
1 year.
to the December or
Yeah.
till
It
25 December?
would be for because they were appointed for the 24 year, it'd be for the 25.
25 year. Okay, so 1 year being year 25. We're appointing Elizabeth Wright and Chad Roots. All right? Okay. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Lemming,
Aye.
Poling,
Yes.
Scott,
Aye.
Connor,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Middlesworth.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Next item under new business, item D, Grant County Recorder Kathy Foy with an additional appropriation within the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund. Good evening.
Hello. At the beginning of the year, you guys approved to raise my part-timers' pay to $17, I think. But it was after the budget was done, so I said when that money is gone, I would appropriate from my perpetuation fund to the part-time general fund to cover the rest of the year for her. So it is $3,100 for salary and $238 for FICA.
Just one person.
I only got one part-timer, yep.
And this has been advertised. We are okay to go ahead and approve this additional appropriation. Are there any questions from the members? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Connor to approve the additional appropriation within the Recorder's Perpetuation Fund 1131. And the additional appropriation is in the amount of $3,100 for salaries and $238 for FICA. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Lemming.
Aye.
Connor.
Yes.
Scott. Hicks.
Yes.
Bowling.
Yes.
Middlesworth.
Yes.
If he's on there, he's not under his name.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, text me.
If he's on there, he's not under his name. That's all I can say.
Okay, next item under new business, item E, Grant County Highway Director David White with the transfers of appropriation within the MVH restricted as well as the MVH fund. Good evening.
First thing is restricted transfer 70,000 from bituminous to stone and gravel. This is for our cold mix that we're trying to build for next year's paving projects. And then the, let me go ahead and do the other one.
Yes, please.
The other one is just transfer from MVH regular for $300 from calcium chloride to pay for some more CDL physicals for the drivers.
And this will get you through the end of the year.
Yeah.
You'll be back in.
No problem.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding the highways request? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Pulling, a second for Mr. Lemming to approve the transfers within 1173 restricted fund in the amount of 70,000 from bituminous to stone and gravel, and transfer within 1176 the MVH fund in the amount of $300 from calcium chloride to CDL physicals. Are there any questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Bowling.
Yes.
Lemming.
Aye.
Scott. Connor.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries. Any updates for us?
38th Street Bridge hopefully was going to be open today, but with the weather, so hopefully tomorrow they'll get the guardrail on. We were awarded the other 200 and already almost 300,000 for the community crossing grant that we applied for. So basically we got our full 1.5 million for this year. So
How about State Road 9?
I don't know nothing about that.
Before you leave, I did receive something today from, to the council. It's an early coordination letter from NDOT regarding the traffic signal project on 18 from Western Avenue to Pennsylvania Street.
Yes. In fact, they've already bought part of the right of way for the, around the square. A couple months ago, so they've already been working with us on that, so.
I just want to make sure he's aware of that.
You started to say round, and I was getting really concerned. You're going to say roundabout, and I'm going to be like, we need to hold out as long as possible. I hate those things.
No, I didn't say that.
I did hear the 4-letter word though in the forecast.
Yeah, we're getting ready for that tomorrow, so.
Roundabouts aren't that bad. You just drive through like a bat out of hell and hook up. Very simple.
Thank you, Mr. White. Next item on the agenda under new business, item F, Grant County Commissioners. Mr. Sadoff, I believe, is online this evening. We have a transfer of appropriation, the CCD fund, as well as an additional appropriation in ARPA. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, council. As far as the transfer is concerned, that's a $28,000 transfer within the CCD fund. The commissioners desperately needed to purchase a vehicle for EMA. The vehicle is no longer safe to be on the road. And looking into the future, we're probably looking at 2 to 3 more that we need to pull from that fleet for next year.
So the request is a transfer from equipment to vehicles in the amount of $28,000. Are there any questions from the members? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
So I guess a second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Lemming to approve the transfer within the CCD fund equipment to vehicles in the amount of $28,000. Are there any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Connor,
Yes.
Lemming,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Hicks,
Yes.
Pauling,
Yes.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries. We can move on, Mr. Sadoff, to the ARPA appropriations.
So before you should have in your packets the additional appropriations letters. There's quite a few items on there that commissioners are requesting to appropriate. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have to the best of my ability. These have been in discussion for several months now, and we're running out of time.
The committee did meet on these several times and was okay with them. We did advertise them for this evening, and this finalizes all the ARPA dollars. The commissioners have already amended their plan to encompass this request. And so there's an additional appropriation of $500,000 to the city of Marion for blight projects, specifically for the downtown square. Commissioners, additional $250,000 to the city of Marion, specifically for repairs and remodeling of the animal control building. And another $360,000 to the city of Marion for payments in advance for a 10-year contract for animal control services. An additional $250,000 to the Grant County Sheriff's Office, specifically for sheriff vehicles. $50,000 specifically allocated to BW Construction for scoping services regarding the jail and detention center, I believe. And then an additional $2,024,447.84 for specifically for renovations to the detention center, home building, according to BW's construction scoping agreement, or specifically allocated to specifically to jail projects is, I believe, what the commissioners, and so we're not really tying it into BW, but any jail project that would be covered by these dollars within their health plan. You have anything else to add, Mr. Sato?
Yes, it was awarded to the jail project in regards to BW scoping on Monday by the commissioners. I would like to add that it does seem odd that the $50,000 and the $2 million and change are separate items, but they need to be that way. They were done at separate times. Our special projects attorney Connor Sullivan advised me on that. So yes, we would request these to be appropriated as presented.
Yes, and this is Mike Connor. I got a question. What was the ultimate resolution of the ARPA funds for the demolition project in Jonesboro? Is that just outside of this request, or where did that go?
I believe yes, it was awarded. You have already appropriated that. I believe that was in last month's.
Okay, so that's already a done deal. That's why it's not in this list.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other questions from the members? I know, I believe Connor Sullivan, the attorney regarding the ARPA monies, is working on interlocal agreements with the city of Marion regarding the Humane Society or the animal control piece. We have yet, the commissioners have yet to approve those, but this is what we need to take action on this evening. If there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Pauling, a second from Mr. Connor to approve the additionals within the ARPA recovery fund. An additional $500,000 to the city of Marion for blight projects specifically for the downtown area. An additional $250,000 to the city of Marion specifically for repairs and remodeling of the animal control building. Additional $360,000 to the city of Marion specifically for an advance payment of 10 years of animal control services for Grant County. Additional $250,000 to the Grant County Sheriff's Office specifically for vehicles. An additional $50,000 specifically allocated to BW Construction for a scoping service. And then additional appropriation of $2,024,447.84 specifically for various jail renovations. It encompasses a whole list of things. If there's no other questions from the members, public input? Roll call, please.
Poling,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Scott,
Aye.
Hicks,
Yes.
Lemming,
Aye.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries. Do we need to do anything with old business regarding the commissioners and ARPA? I believe that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, council. Appreciate it.
Next item under new business, item G, Grant County Health Department, Terrace Street with a transfer of appropriations within the health fund. Good evening.
I miscalculated our life insurance cost for this year, so I'm asking to transfer $365 from immunizations and vaccine fund to the life insurance fund. A project came in a little higher than expected, so I need to transfer $95 from the same immunization and vaccine fund to forms and advertising. And the cost of a maintenance agreement on our vaccine freezers went way higher than we expected. So I need to transfer $640 from immunizations and vaccine to preventative maintenance. And that will bring all my balances in good standing.
Are there any questions from the members? If there are none, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Connor, a second from Mr. Poling to approve within the Grant County Health Department, the Health Fund 1159, a transfer from immunizations and vaccines in the amount of $365 to the line item life insurance, $95 to the line item forms and advertising, and $640 to the line item preventative maintenance. This was all advertised, correct? I mean, that was a transfer, sorry. Is that the last one? Okay, if there's no other questions from the members, public input? Roll call, please.
Connor,
Yes.
Poling,
Yes.
Scott,
Aye.
Hicks,
Yes.
Lemming,
Aye.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item under new business, item H, Grant County EMS, Dawn Harris, a transfer of appropriation within the general fund. She did mention she would not be here this evening, and this is below the threshold for her being in front of us. The request is a transfer from office supplies to software in the amount of $115.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Poling, a second from Mr. Connor to approve the transfer within Grant County EMS General Fund, transfer from office supplies to software in the amount of $115. Are there any other questions from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Poling,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Scott,
Aye.
Hicks,
Yes.
Lemming,
Aye.
Middlesworth.
Yes, motion carries. Next item under new business, item I, Grant County Probation, Melissa Stevenson, with three grant awards, one being the pretrial grant award, mental health grant award, and PCS Veterans Court Award. She online?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I wanted to make you aware that we have received three different grants that we need to talk about tonight. The first one is the pretrial grant award. This is a award that we've received since July of 2017. It's an annual application and a grant award period. We've been funded again for another year. If you may recall, in previous years, we've been funded fully for salaries. They started a few years back capping 30% of each individual salaries for benefits for the 3 full-time probation officers that are assigned to pretrial services. To be proactive about these funding restrictions, we've had an agreement and conversations with the Commissioner's Office, who has agreed to pay for the deficits that are for these benefits. I spoke with them this week. They are still willing to step in and pay for those deficits. We were funded a little differently for 2025. Rather than receiving funding for the salaries at a cap of 30% of the individual salaries for benefits, we received $25,000 each for all 3 of our pretrial service probation officers. This funding is actually better for the county because it reduces the total deficit for the remaining benefits to $16,524. So if you want, like in comparison, what was projected for 2024 was $51,167. So a significant cost savings for the county again. The commissioners approved to cover that deficit for the benefits. The total grant award is $276,760, which includes the salaries for 3 full-time probation officers, $25,000 towards the benefits, the stipend for the coordinator, some $1,000 for training. We've got funding for public defenders to be compensated for attendance at the meaningful first appearances.
Are there any questions regarding the pretrial grant award? Do you want to go ahead and move on, or do you want to do them individually? You can go ahead and move on to the next one.
Sure. The next one is the mental health grant. This year, Grant County implemented a mental health court through the collaborative efforts between Radiant Health, Grant County Courts, and Grant County Court Services. Radiant Health reimburses for a majority of the salary and benefits for the mental health court coordinator, and the remaining salaries and benefits is paid through a problem-solving court grant through the Indiana Office of Court Services. We received the grant award for 2025 to allow us to continue in these efforts. The grant pays $2,549 towards the coordinator's salary, and they also pay the $25,000 towards their benefits. It also pays for a $2,000 stipend and $437 to benefits for grant management responsibilities for the office manager, because there's a lot of collaboration that has to go with Radiant Health, especially as it goes towards the reimbursement for the position. Additional line items for this includes funding for incentives, drug screen supplies, participant needs, program evaluation, and staff training. The total grant award for 2025 is $59,486.
Are there any questions regarding the mental health grant?
Melissa, this is Mark Lemming. I'm just curious, on the first one, did you say the reduction of costs or out of pocket for the county is now $16,000?
Yes. Yes.
What would this one be?
This mental health court, there is no cost to the county for this one because the difference is what I requested for this grant to pick up. So instead of coming back and asking the council to cover that deficit, we found an opportunity through another grant to cover those deficits. So there is not a cost.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Any other questions about that grant, or would you like for me to go on to the veterans?
No, please proceed.
We received the grant award for 2025 for the Veterans Court. This grant includes a $1,250 stipend and $274 towards their benefits to one of our staff members who is a veteran who facilitates an evidence-based peer-led group for participants. This is just a stipend to compensate for the additional work going in there. So you may remember, this is similar from previous years. We actually had somebody from the VA that was facilitating this group, and they said they could no longer do that. So we pursued funding to find a way for us to be able to continue those services for the veterans. And one of our staff members is a veteran who fits into the ability to do a peer-led group. So just repurposing those responsibilities. The grant also has line items for incentive, drug testing supplies, participant needs, and staff training. The total of grant award for this one in 2025 is $20,524.
Any questions or comments from the members? Angie, I know the commissioner's budget's been picking up the difference for some time. Is there a better way within the budget to be able to track it or pay it out of a different line item or create it that way it's not?
No,
You
it's
think
just,
that's the best way?
it is just taken out of the commissioner's already appropriated accounts, so we budget so much every year and
I didn't know
that
if we
to
needed to
compensate for that.
Did make a line item within theirs that's, to make it a little different. I didn't know if that helped or not. Thank you. Are there any other questions from the members? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve 3 grant awards, one being the pretrial, one being the mental health, and one being the Veterans Court. Are there any other comments from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Lemming.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Connor.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Poling. Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item under new business, item J, IT Department, Marcus Elliott with a transfer of appropriation as well as an additional appropriation.
Good evening, gentlemen. I just got those 2 items today. So the first one is a transfer. So I spoke with Angie, I think it was like in September or October, and we have around $14,300 in our salaries account that is unused from the former employee that went on FMLA. So to kind of help with the additional appropriation, I would like to transfer out that $14,300 from our salaries account. Angie gave me a breakdown of how much all our salaries per pay are, and we only have 3 for the rest of the year. So I subtracted that out, and $14,391 is what's in there. So there should be $91 left by the time we get to the end. So I don't know if you gentlemen have any other questions, or?
Are there any questions regarding the transfer? Like, you can go ahead and proceed on to your additionals if you want.
Yep. So with my additional appropriation, we had some extra costs with the phone system. So that was for the need for the additional appropriation. I think initially I put in a request for 30,000, but I don't really need 30,000. I need 25,000, and the exact amount is $23,207.
On our sheet, Marcus, the additional appropriation is 35,000, which your
Right.
exact amount is 31.
Right, I overshot it because I included some bills that were already paid, so that was a mistake on my part.
Okay, so what is the dollar amount that you want?
Yeah, so the 23, this is just to pay the remaining invoices we have for the remainder of the year. Because the biggest thing that affected us with our contractual services account, for the first bill for the phone system, there was some one-time fees for the provisioning and the setup of the system for just signing up and for emergency services, so they make you pay all that stuff. So it's just kind of a one-time fee for that. That was $10,969. And then for the agreement, we had professional services, so they helped us set up the phone system and get it ready, and we set up call flows and all that good stuff. And they said they were going to give us $9,500 in credit. And, you know, after we were done with the professional services, they sent me a bill for the $8,500, which is for the services. And I asked them, hey, can we just apply that credit? And they said, well, it doesn't go towards that. It goes towards our regular phone bill, monthly phone bill. And he sent me an email that said, we will get the credit amount applied on the 9th month. So that would be in January or February. So we have that coming, and we also have another credit. We were overcharged for some of the phones that we ordered for the jail and some of the common areas is what we call them. And we're supposed to be getting $2,500 from that part as well.
So the additional appropriation, what, we advertised high, so we can make it whatever he needs. And so you're saying 23,000 what?
Yeah, so the exact amount was 23,207. I put a recommendation of 25,000 just for a little buffer, but I mean.
So what are you requesting, 23 or 25?
Or 23.
We can do 25, just to have a little buffer in there if there's something small comes out.
Okay. So we have a transfer of an amount of $14,300 from salaries account to contractual services, and additional appropriation in the amount of $25,000. And what was the account on that one, the line item?
Are you needing?
Contractual.
Yeah, it's 30700. I think I got it over here.
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is? Yeah, I see those numbers in my sleep sometimes, so.
Is that gonna be enough to get you all the way to the end?
Yes, sir. Yep.
I know Marcus and the IT department's been working pretty hard on upgrading the phone systems throughout the county. They went to an app-based phone system on the computer and have pretty much done away with all the landline handsets.
Yeah. So the goal is to get away from as many physical phones as possible. Now, like in areas in the jail where they don't really have dedicated, so it just kind of makes sense to have physical phones for the floors and common areas and stuff. But for the individual users and stuff, we have it set up on their computers.
Good job.
Yep. No, they've been busy. So is there any other questions or comments regarding this request? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion from Mr. Poling, a second from Mr. Scott to approve the transfer within the IT department, transferring the amount of $14,300 from salaries to contractual services, and an additional appropriation within the contractual services line item in the amount of $25,000. Are there any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? A roll call, please.
Pulling,
Yes.
Scott.
Aye.
Connor.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Lemming.
Aye.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries.
Thanks again, gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Next item under new business, item K, Grant County Auditor Angie Jarvis with an additional appropriation.
Yes, due to the fact that salaries were set for the 24 budget year after budgets had been adopted, there was going to be a few shortfalls in a few of the departments. So I've asked for coverage for that for the rest of the year. And the clerk's budget of $12,500, voters registration for $900, and the recorder's department for $3,600. These are all general fund departments. They do not, especially the voters in the recorder's office, the voters in the recorder's office do not have additional accounts that I could utilize to transfer funds to cover those shortfalls. And the clerk's department, it's too soon to tell what they will have available by the end of the year to transfer to cover it.
Are there any questions regarding the additional appropriation requests?
Didn't we do the recorder's perpetuation fund for
The
that?
recorder's perpetuation fund, correct, yes.
Okay.
This request isn't the perpetuation fund, though, is it?
No, these are
Yeah.
all general fund departments.
You know, and typically we, as a body, don't do additionals in December.
Correct.
We can, however, now software, but our practice has been not to do additionals in December. If there's no other questions, I entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to accept these transfers as presented. Additional.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Lemming, a second from Mr. Scott to approve the additional appropriations for the clerk's salary in the amount of $12,500, voters registration in the amount of $900, and the recorder in the amount of $3,600. This is all salary items where we're predicting a shortfall. Are there any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? A roll call, please.
Lemming.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Connor.
Yes.
Hicks.
Yes.
Poland.
Yes.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries. And we do have a per hour request in your office as well.
I've, earlier this month, I sent out a notice or a letter to the council to notify them of a situation in my office where a staff member has passed away. We had an emergency situation where it was needed to ask for a salary ordinance amendment to create a part-time financial deputy position at the current rate. That position is paid at $22.89 an hour. This is a temporary position just to get us through to the end of the year so that we can make some staffing changes and hire replacements. It was approved by you at that time, so this is just a formality.
Questions or comments? So we're going to need a salary ordinance amendment to approve the temporary part-time financial deputy pay at $22.89 an hour. Is that correct? Any questions or comments? I entertain a motion.
One. Or you need two.
I'm going to do it one.
Move to approve the request for the auditor's office.
Second.
Additional.
Yes, for the additional.
We didn't take care of it.
We did the first.
We did the additional. I didn't ask for an additional for this, just a salary ordinance amendment.
amendment.
Just the amendment. And the change.
Motion, I second.
I have a motion from Mr. Scott, a second from Mr. Poling to amend the salary ordinance to reflect the part-time financial deputy at the rate of pay of $22 an hour and $22.89 per hour, which is the current rate for that position. Are there any other questions or comments from the members? Public input? Roll call, please.
Scott,
Aye.
Poling,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Hicks,
Yes.
Lemming,
Aye.
Middlesworth.
Yes. Motion carries. The next item, we'll go ahead, that's all the new business we have this evening, I believe. The next item under old business, we can go ahead and mark out item A under old business. Item B, Marion Public Library appointment. We did advertise that position. We've received no interest. So my recommendation to this body would be to re-advertise it. We do have some time before the end of the year to fill that position. So if anybody's willing to serve on the Marion Public Library, submit your application to the auditor's office for that seat. I'm not sure exactly what the guidelines are, but does anyone else know what the guidelines? I would have to link to the city of Marion.
I would assume, but I don't.
I don't know that for sure. So we'll go ahead and re-advertise that for the next meeting to see if we get any bites. And we went ahead and took care of item C, so we're on to item D, the 2025 salary ordinance adoption. So I'll go ahead and read this. This is ordinance number 2-2024, an ordinance for the Grant County Council of Grant County, Indiana for establishment of salaries for the 2025 year. Whereas the Grant County Council is the series of establishing a salary ordinance for the year 2025 to set forth pay for elected officials and employees of Grant County, Indiana. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Grant County Council of Grant County, Indiana as followed. Elected officials attached hereto is a list of elected positions in Grant County, Indiana, and the annual pay for such elected official positions for the calendar year of 2025. Employees attached hereto is a listing of all the positions of Grant County employees in the state of Indiana and sets forth the annual pay for each employee's position for the calendar year of 2025. Payment schedule. All payments shall be made to the elected officials and employees pursuant to a payment schedule as approved by the Grant County Commissioners of Grant County, Indiana. The effective date, this ordinance shall be effective beginning January 1st, 2025, and will be applied to all services rendered by the elected officials and the employees through December 31st, 2025. This ordinance is hereby approved on this 20th day of November 2024. This is a typical salary ordinance that we approved during the budget process. I would like to add one thing as we approve this. Within the E911 fund, recommending that the full-time positions be paid as the same as the part-time from this point.
Part-time paid the same rate.
Did I say it backwards?
Yeah.
That would be the 4922.
Yeah, in the 4922, the part-time is paid the same as the full-time, which we've been doing. Can we make language that just says that from this point on?
Yes.
Do we have we don't have to have a public hearing, do we have public comment regarding the salary ordinance? No? Okay. Maybe we can have. Is there a signed copy to sign for all of us, correct?
Yes. If you haven't heard yet.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the members?
You need to give it an ordinance number.
Ordinance number 2.
Questions or comments? I entertain a motion.
President, go ahead.
I said the motion would be to approve the salary ordinance for 2025.
President, move to approve the Grant County salary ordinance for the year 2025.
Second.
I have a motion for Mr. Scott, a second for Mr. Connor to approve the salary ordinance number 2 of 2025. It's actually 2 2024, but it's 25 salaries, just to be clear. I have a motion, I have a second. Any questions from the members? Public input?
I just want to say thank you for your continued support of my staff. Your support of them has immensely helped the morale down in the basement, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Other public comments, entertain the roll call, please.
Scott?
Aye.
Connor?
Yes.
Hicks?
Yes.
Poling?
Yes.
Lemming?
All right.
Middlesworth?
Yes.
Motion carries. Which way you want to go?
I would like to thank you as well. It makes it easier to attract qualified employees and hang on to good employees, so thank you.
I have one question, maybe out of line. Why can't we out here hear what anybody's saying in the audience? You keep talking about spending money for a speaker system and all these new speakers. We sit here in the audience, I got $7,000 for hearing aids and I still can't hear what they know is going on.
Yeah, I know.
Turn the volume up so we can.
Yeah, like I said, we can adjust the system. And like I said, because all this is just part of a bigger plan to get the system listening devices and all that sort of stuff put in. So this is all stuff we had to do before we get to that.
So what's the next step, Marcus, to be able to have, speakers to give us?
So you just want it to, like you guys talking and come out?
Yeah.
Yeah, we that's a setting we can turn it on.
Okay.
So we can do that, and then, but it's one of those things where we'll have to tweak it. Because
Okay.
you can get a feedback loop and stuff like that, so it has to be configured with the speakers.
Yeah, I know that's.
It's been like this for over a year.
Yeah, I know that's something that.
And like I said, we just.
Yes.
Yeah, then we just have these put up.
Thank you. Everybody get that sign? Here's the. Do we need to take a break? All right, proceed. Continue? Okay, next item, item E. Sheriff's request regarding Jonesboro.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of council. Thank you for having me here again tonight. And if you would indulge me for a minute, I just want to inform you that we are once again fully staffed, both on the road and in the jail. So things are going well there, and we appreciate all the work that the council's doing along with the judges and other departments in reference to the jail overcrowding. I think that's how we'll get things worked out, everybody working together, getting on the same page. I appreciate the work you guys are doing on that. With that being said, once again, I'm here for the request for the 2 positions for Jonesboro that they've requested, where they will fund 2 deputy positions to help patrol Jonesboro. I know one of the issues that was brought to my attention by Mr. Glickfield was an issue of, well, what happens if Jonesboro quits paying? Does the union contract prohibit us from getting rid of those positions? Article 2, Section 2.1 of the union contract for the Grant County Sheriff's Office, Part D says to determine the size and composition of the workforce under management rights, the department's organizational structure, including the right to lay off employees. So if Jonesboro was to say we can no longer pay for those positions, then we as a sheriff's office would be able to lay off those positions. Of course, we would like to do it through attrition if all possible, that once someone retires or leaves our agency that we wouldn't hire back. But if push came to shove and we needed to lay off those 2 positions, we'd be more than willing to do that. So does anybody have any questions? Hopefully everybody can remember what we talked about last council meeting. I mean, I think it's a win-win for everybody. Jonesboro gets additional patrol and security in their town or their city. Their council's paying for it, so it saves the county council money, and definitely helps us out to put more, because we're going there whether they're paying for it or not anyhow. So I definitely think it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Are there any questions from the members? Mr. Glickfield, did you review the union contract as well as the interlocal agreement?
Yes, I've seen them both.
Happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Is there an issue between hiring someone separately in comparison to the rest of the county? Like with the union contract, and they're just specified in Jonesboro?
They won't be just specified in Jonesboro. They'll be employed as the Grant County Sheriff's Office. Jonesboro becomes part of our central district, where they'll just patrol there. So they'll have coverage in the evenings. I mean, they'll be fully employed by the Grant County Sheriff's Office. There'll be our employees paid by, they're just basically reimbursing the county, similar to what we do with the work crew for the city of Marion, where they work for the sheriff's office, but their salaries paid through Marion.
So is that $81,940 per officer?
I can't remember the exact amount, but yeah, it was for 2 officers. I think it was over 100 and some thousand. I didn't bring those figures with me, but it was over 100 and some thousand that was paid. Salary, benefits, FICA, everything that's required to be paid. Jonesboro would pick up that payment.
I talked to Mayor Bill Rock. He seems to think he's got deputies right there, people over in his town that could help these guys out for that kind of money.
Well, he requested it.
Across the bridge.
And he requested it from us. I don't know why he didn't request it from Gas City. We have a great agency. We have a great detective. Because you got to remember, from us, he's not just getting patrol. He's getting detective work. If something major happens there, our detectives will work those cases and different things like that. Plus, we're a countywide agency. We're not limited to a Marion jurisdiction or Gas City jurisdiction or Jonesboro. We go countywide.
Is it true that they got a hiring freeze at the police department in Jonesboro?
No, that is not true.
I don't know.
That is not true.
Not true.
No, we've been trying to hire multiple times. We've said that we just cannot get anybody. We currently have a full-time chief, and we have 1 part-time guy right now. And last year, we had a gentleman that was working for us, and he couldn't pass the test, so we had to let him go.
I think it's a testament to what our team members do on the sheriff's office. We have professional individuals that work for our department. They're great deputies. They do a good job, and I know a lot of people in the county are pleased with the Grant County Sheriff's Office and the way our deputies respond to calls. So it doesn't surprise me that the mayor of Jonesboro came to us If I was looking for someone to help us out, I definitely would have come to the Grant County Sheriff's Office, because our guys are top tier deputies. And not to put any other departments down, we have a lot of great agencies in the county, but obviously I believe that Grant County Sheriff's Department is a top law enforcement office in Grant County.
So I received the agreement yesterday, which really didn't give a whole lot of time to digest what was being asked. And there's actually, I don't know if it was just my computer system, but like the last page, there was symbols and that was replacing words. And so honestly, I can't really tell what the agreement says because of that. But one thing I guess that stood out to me, I guess one of my confusions was it oftentimes stated the 81,000 amount. So in the agreement, it would mention that one position, but then it would mention two positions, and then it might go back to the 81,000. So I'm uncertain what the request is at this point.
The request is that they would pay the full salary for two deputies that would be employed by the Grant County Sheriff's Office. They would pay it to the auditor, similar to what Marion does, and they would just work for us, and they would patrol the Jonesboro area.
I always understood it as two, but with the language in the contract, it says one.
Yeah, they originally were going to go with one, and they were able to find more money to go with two. And the contract is not done, the agreement's not done, it's still in the drafting stage. We just wanted to get the positions available for two. If they come back to us later on and say, hey, we can really only afford one, then that's what we'll write the contract out for. Contract hasn't been submitted to the commissioners yet for their approval. Has been to the attorney, the county attorney, to get kind of an idea of where we were at. And there's still some negotiations that's going on, even as far as vehicles that we would get from them to possibly sell to help us get some more equipment to help with those new two deputies.
So this means we'd have to open up the contract, right? The union contract with the sheriffs?
No, the contract, the union contract does not say how many positions we have. That's determined by our salary ordinance on how many officers or deputies that we're going to have. The contract has nothing to do with that. If tomorrow Jonesboro was to say, or a year from now, that they don't want to, they no longer want to fund out those positions, and by management rights, we have the right to lay off those two positions. And I think that was the main concern from what I understood of the council. Now, like I said before, we could continue going the route we're going. We could continue patrolling Jonesboro at county's expense, or very rarely do you have a municipality that says, hey, we want to pay our fair share. We want to contribute to what's going on. So I think it's a win-win for the county to do this because you're being reimbursed for something we're already doing. Because if they have a major incident, guess what detective agency goes out there? We do. If they don't have anybody on duty working at night or on the weekends, guess who goes out there and takes the reports? We do. We're just blessed enough that the mayor decided to, hey, we want to put a little skin in the game, and we want to go ahead and hire two people because they can't find people to work there.
So should we just take it all over and they not have none?
Well, that's not my decision. I'm here requesting two positions on their behalf.
Well, I mean, they are a city, correct?
Correct.
So they have to keep the chief of police to get more tax revenue. Because if you're not a city and you're just a town, you get less. You have to have the chief of police to be a city.
Well, I think they're grandfathered, and Mr. Connor may be able to answer those questions more.
I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it's irrelevant. If they choose to keep the chief, to keep local tie, I think that's a decision within the purview of the council and the mayor.
Yeah, but if you're keeping it just due to monetary, and you want the sheriff to run half of it, why not take it all?
Well, we're not running half of it. That's the thing. We're not running half of it.
You're running half of it, correct?
What we're doing is they're paying for two positions, and we're patrolling their area, and we're taking calls in their area.
At nighttime.
At night, on weekends.
And they're going to run in the daytime.
That's something that we do. That's something that we do already.
But correct, that was what they said. They'd run it in the daytime. You guys would come in the evenings and the night.
On the days they have coverage, yes, they're going to cover their their own city. So we're not running anything. The only thing we're running is 2 deputies that we are in charge of, that they'll fall under our purview, that they'll fall under our policies, and they'll get paid by the Grant County Sheriff's Office as Jonesboro reimburses the Grant County Auditor's Office.
It seems to me if you're gonna pay $81,000, they are, to us, that's more than we pay our deputies, and they can't hire 2 people?
Wouldn't it be the same applicant pool? I mean, if we're going to pay a deputy the same amount of money that Jonesboro Police Department is going to pay, would we be attracting the same applicant pool?
Not necessarily. You gotta remember, people become police for different reasons. Young police officers become police because they want to be active, they want to be busy, they want to do police work. The call volume may not be as high in Jonesboro, and that's why you may have some issues with some guys wanting to go there. I don't know why Marion's having the same problem. They're having a problem with hiring. They're down several officers there. We're fully staffed. I can tell you why I believe we're fully staffed, because we pray and ask God to send us laborers. And I think God honors our prayers and he sends us to us. Because we're not doing anything different than any other agency in the state is doing, other than that.
Yeah, but my point is, when you're looking at $81,000, they're willing to pay us for each person. You can't hire someone, that's more than we pay our deputies, they can't hire.
Well, that's with benefits and everything.
Right, but still, you can't find, I can't hardly believe you can't find 2 people.
Well, we talked about this at a prior meeting. There are some, fact of the matter is, there are some departments that are more attractive to police officer candidates than others. Little towns get used as stepping stones by these folks, and then they go to bigger departments. That's one of the reasons why we can't hire somebody. If you think Jonesboro isn't wanting to hire its own officers and trying, then you haven't been to any of our meetings and you're misinformed.
Well, I'm just asking why you didn't go across the bridge and ask Mayor Rock when he said he's got.
Have you seen our water bills, Chuck?
Yes. Yes.
Can you see why there might?
Have you seen Marion's water bills? Marion's water bills.
Excuse me, I'm still talking, if you don't mind. Thank you. I think no aspersions on Gas City, our friends over there, and no aspersions on their police officers. They're great folks. But given how much we have to pay for our water and sewer services that Gas City provides, can you see why we might be wanting to do business with the county a little more? And I'm sorry, I just don't understand the pushback. Jonesboro is ready to give money to the county to add 2 more officers, not cut back officers, not defund the police, but add funding to the police, add more officers to do things that they're already doing. And there's pushback? You've got to be kidding me. I just don't get it. And I'm just asking, if you're here from Jonesboro and you support this, would you stand? You'll have your chance to speak. I want you to know there's people here watching this and that care about it. And maybe you can explain the pushback.
Could we answer some of the questions, Mr. Middlesworth? The mayor isn't here, but some members of city council are here to try and speak on behalf of Jonesboro.
What's the board's wishes?
Well, there's going to be a point for public input, so why not? I welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, we can allow 2 minutes for each one of the 3. Yeah, if you would come to the podium and state your name.
Right, thank you. Good evening. Sorry the mayor couldn't be here. I'm Clayton Schultz. I'm on the city council. To answer your most poignant question, which is why not just go across the city, other than the things Mr. Connor brought up, is should we fail to provide officers, which we are currently doing, it naturally falls on the higher government position, which is the Grant County, to cover it. And we are constantly spinning our wheels, training, hiring, rehiring. If we have 2 or 3 full-time officers, if someone calls in sick, we're out of luck and we're calling Grant County. If someone's caught up in a trial, we're calling Grant County. If someone has to take a vacation, we're calling Grant County. You know, the whole point of government is that we pool our resources. In theory, Grant County could take care of its own military defense, but we defer that to the national government. Jonesboro is at the point where it doesn't make sense. We don't have the pool of people and talent and draw that we can cover that ourselves. If it goes to Grant County, and we still have part-time officers, we need a chief because he needs to be managing the part-time officers. He needs to be managing all of our records. He needs to be showing up and giving reports to our Board of Works. You know, if the citizens of Jonesboro want to become a town, that is a process we can go through. Some citizens have talked about that. Some people have even run for mayor on that. But we can't snap our fingers and do that today, whereas we can, as a council, meet our obligations, or try to, by paying this money to the Grant County Sheriff's Department and saying, we have tried to fill these positions and we can't, so let us give this money to you so that you can help provide this service. Much in the same way that every citizen of Grant County does, that they could defend their own property, but instead they pay a portion of their money to Grant County to help defend their property and get police services. Jonesboro is asking the same thing because we're no longer capable in today's world between training requirements, litigation, technology, etc. We have spent too much money on new officers only to have them up and leave, and it just doesn't make sense anymore. We can't do it. So, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments or council comments or?
I'll defer to the public first, but I have a question for Mr. Glickfield.
Anybody else from the public?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is
State your name for the record.
This is Ed Hartman speaking. Fairmount, Indiana. Is this option?
Yes, we can hear you.
Will this option be available to other towns in Grant County?
That's a good question. You do it for one, you gotta do it for them all, in my opinion. But good question, thank you. Sheriff, what would you respond? How would you respond to that question?
Well, I can tell you that it's becoming more and more common with smaller towns that are having a hard time finding people. I don't think Fairmount has that problem. But I know statewide it is becoming more common because, as Mr. Scott was saying, the pool has gotten a lot smaller. When I first hired in '94, the cafeteria at Marion High School was full of applicants. Today, we're lucky to get 13 applicants. So the pool has gotten smaller. There's more competition between agencies. You have the state police starting their troopers at 70 plus and looking at even going higher. We've lost people to other agencies that are paying a lot more. So it is getting a lot more difficult, especially for the smaller towns. Could it be something that other towns request later on? It could be.
But I'm saying, if you do this, if you do for one, you should do for all. Right?
Yeah, as long as they're willing to pay, for those deputies.
Fantastic.
That's all that matters.
Have them all lined up.
That doesn't affect our operation at all, as far as we're still going to manage what we've got to manage. So, obviously, if other people need our help, we're here to serve and we're here to protect the public. And if any community comes to us and asks us and requests our assistance to help them, we're going to help them. Whether they pay us or not, hopefully you guys, if you can cover your ears, we're going to be there to help them out, and we're going to do the best to protect every citizen of Grant County. That's what I've been elected to do, and we're going to do that. I just think it's great that you have a community out there that's willing to pay money to help cover their security in their cities. Because like I said, if our guys get dispatched out there tonight, we're going to be out there and we're going to help them. And I just, like I said, I think it's great that someone's willing to pay money. Why they came to us, and not other agencies, and that's something they have to answer. I like to believe is because we're the top agency in the county. I'm sure Gas City would argue with me about that. I know Marion would definitely argue with me about that, but I do believe that, and like I said, we're fully staffed. I know the other agencies are still hiring people. In fact, if this is approved today, I've got 2 people that I could call tomorrow that we have on our merit list that would get started in the process. just like the jail. If we lose 2 jailers tomorrow, we have 4 people ready to take on a full-time position, and nothing because of what I've done. It's all because of what he's done. And so I just think it's great. So yeah, to answer your question, if other towns were to do that and they were willing to pay for those positions, I think we'd be foolish not to do it because we're going to be covering it anyhow.
I'm sorry I interrupted you, Sheriff. Excuse me. As you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about this. This is my town. It's where I live. But if the other little communities line up to do the same thing, God bless us, everyone. Who's going to complain? Are the citizens going to complain that we have 10 more officers that are being paid by these little communities to do what they're doing anyway? Is anybody going to complain that Jonesboro is willing to pay for the services it's getting? I mean, we hear about these crazy coastal cities that are defunding the police, and we have a chance to have more police officers to protect us. What's not to like? I just don't get any pushback on this.
I mentioned it in the last meeting, Sheriff. It wasn't too long ago that this body, in the past administration, we was in the same boat as Jonesboro. We were struggling to staff the jail. We were struggling to find quality merit deputies. I mean, we was struggling. And prior to that, we actually eliminated 2 deputies to increase pay, to be able to be attractive. And so the part I struggle with is we have worked as a body to make cuts, to try to incentivize the sheriff's department to be a recruiting tool, to give you, more pay, your deputies, the new cars, the new equipment, whatever we can, we've done to be attractive. And so we as a body, I feel like, have done our part to equip your department along with you leading the department in a godly way to attract quality deputies. And so when I look and I hear Jonesboro can't attract, I'm thinking, what have they done or tried or not tried? Have they increased the pay? Have they bought new cars? Have they equipped their officers? Have they changed their leader to, improve morale? I mean, what have they done? And I'm thinking, it's not that long ago that we was in the same boat and, everything comes full circle. We're competing with the state police. We're going to be competing with Marion, who gave a possibly, 10% raise. So it's just why they're paying is great and awesome. And I think that serves Jonesboro well. It's a slippery slope. And because not necessarily they're paying, but they're not paying for the liability. They're not paying for new cars and insurance. They're not paying for, are they paying for radio equipment? And there's a lot of other soft costs that this county will absorb with any other small town that jumps on, correct? Which would be more money out of our general fund, which would be less money for raises and other things down the road. So my worry is that we're going to be full circle.
Well, with the, and I'm not sure what the budget was before I came here, but I know, as you stated, we did lose 2 positions, and I can't remember which administration that was under. I'm not sure if our budget changed. Obviously, you're always going to have soft costs with no matter what you do. That's just part of it. So we do have to. We have been updating our fleet. Obviously, we have to equip the new deputies. But I think all that right now can be done with our current budget. We're in the process of getting obviously new radios through ARPA, and we've got enough radios to continue to always get some extras in case things break down. So we will be able to supply them with those kinds of things. Some of the equipment that, and I know you guys are aware, but the public may not be. We also use a lot of money out of the commissary to buy equipment. We purchased 3 cars to try to get our fleet up to date through commissary. We're going to purchase new tasers out of commissary. So we try to help the county as much as we can when it comes to those soft costs, and we'll continue to do that with some of that commissary money because we are able to and allowed to purchase equipment. So to say there will be no soft costs is obviously probably would be incorrect to do, because I'm sure there will be some. But I do believe that the vast majority of the payment's going to be made by Jonesboro, and I think it's beneficial for everybody to go that route.
Well, here's what's going to happen if this gets voted down. Then Jonesboro is going to keep its money instead of handing it to the county. The officers are still going to be coming over and doing the same things, covering when we've got nobody to cover. What does that do? That takes those officers from other parts of the county, so other citizens are going to suffer from it. Again, yeah, there may be a little additional cost, but the bulk of it, Jonesboro is offering to pay a fair share so that we can add a couple of deputies, and other parts of the county won't suffer when those officers are having to come over, because now we've got 2 more added to it.
And you got to
So
remember, Greg, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So if this is voted down, it's not just going to impact Jonesboro, it's going to impact other parts of the county.
Are we currently covering right now at nighttime?
Yeah, anytime we get a call, we go. I mean, same thing for Van Buren if they don't have anybody on duty. Same thing for Upland if they don't have anybody on duty. And Grant County, land-wise, is a pretty big county. And you got to remember it. I learned it the hard way coming from the city, where it took me a minute or 2 to back someone up. And something happens in Fairmount and you're clear up in the Van Buren area, I mean, your closest backup's 20 minutes away or more. So obviously, the more we can have helps our deputies out as far as safety is concerned. You know, when we're talking about safety issues also.
I was going to say, Mike, I'd rather Jonesboro keep the $170,000.
Well, we'd like to keep it, but we'd also like to keep our citizens safe.
To me, and again, I'm still trying to come to a conclusion on this. I've tried to speak to as many people as possible. I'll be 100% honest. I get comments all over the board on this, and I haven't talked to nearly as many people as what I would like to. Based upon that, it is difficult to make sense of what is truly going on and why we're at this position that we're at. It's like I get a different response. I've probably spoken to, it's not many. Again, I'm trying to work through this because we just found out about last month. Probably 8 people, and I get 8 different responses about what is truly happening. So I'm really trying to get a sense, I really am, of what's going on. I honestly don't feel comfortable dealing with it right now just because of the point that I'm at personally. But I guess the biggest thing is, you mentioned the cars. So would the county then have to be responsible for purchasing the 2 new cars?
Well, we have extra cars in our fleet that we always rotate. So it's not like we're going to have to go out and purchase 2 brand new cars. We already have enough in our fleet that we're rotating in and out. Because you got to remember, you always have to have cars for your reserves. You always have to have cars. We currently have some special deputies that will go out and do civil processing for us. So we always have extra cars. That's not going to be the big issue. To me, the thing is, and speaking not only speaking as a sheriff, but as a Grant County citizen myself, I mean, to me, it's a win-win for everybody. Jonesboro gets the protections they need. The count comes to little cost to the county on just the soft costs. They're picking up the majority of the cost. I mean, the county council represents the county, including Jonesboro. And they've asked you, the county council, to approve these positions. And they're saying, we're willing to give you $100,000 and some for these positions. So you have the hard decision to make. To me, we're going to do it. If you guys approve it, if you don't approve it, we're going to continue to do what we do.
How long have you been, how many months since you've been the sheriff, have you been fully staffed all the time?
On the merit side?
2-3 months?
Oh, no, on the merit side, we've been fully staffed.
I mean, road deputies and everything.
Yeah, the road deputies, we've been fully staffed my whole term so far.
The whole term?
Yeah, we've lost someone, we've had someone that we've been able to be able to hire. At the jail, we're all on and off. Obviously, we lose people to go to other agencies to become police. But like I said, today we have 4 people that are willing to come on full time as soon as, because we do have 3 people that have applied to other agencies. I know a couple have applied at MPD.
Well, I guess I'm asking is, since you've been the sheriff, Have you been fully staffed for 3 months out of that, 6 months, or for the whole year?
Mostly, I mean, I can't give you an exact number, but it's been mostly for the whole 2 years that I've been sheriff.
Really?
Yes.
And didn't we talk about before that these officers that you're adding will also be, they're not just exclusive to Jonesboro. They'll be going to other places in the county, correct?
They'll be, Jonesboro will be part of the central district. Now, we have had times where people have retired or they've left our agency, but we've been able to hire someone pretty quick.
But wouldn't the benefit be to put an officer in Jonesboro? I mean, we always want to cry public safety when it's always convenient. We want to get somebody's attention. If we really truly focused on public safety, wouldn't we want to put an officer there to be in Jonesboro?
Well, we'll have someone assigned there, but you're limited.
They're not going to be there. They're going to be in other parts of the county.
They'll be in the central district, and when you divide into districts, that puts them closer. So they will be closer to that district. See, districts are about response time, right? So when I worked at MPD, we had 4 different districts. And in those districts, you stay within those districts because you want to make sure you're able to have a quick response time for any call. It's no different out in the county. When you're working a district, it's about response time. If I'm in that district, I can get there sooner than if I'm, in West Marion, Northwest Marion. If you just let people just go wherever they want. So it's all about district. That'll be part of a district. Response time will be a lot quicker.
But it'll be more than if an officer is in Jonesboro. If Jonesboro is paying for it, I would like to see an officer in Jonesboro the entire time.
Well, we could do that. It's just not beneficial to the county. Then the county really gets.
The county's not paying for it. Jonesboro is. If we're truly focused on Jonesboro's and Jonesboro's public safety, and Jonesboro's paying for it, then the officer needs to be in Jonesboro.
Well, let me reverse that to you then. If we're really focused on public safety, then this is a no-brainer. If we're really focused on public safety, it's a unanimous vote.
Yeah. So hire the person and put them in Jonesboro the entire time.
But isn't that a decision of the executive of Jonesboro and the council and the mayor of the village? Bottom line is, they trust this man, for obvious reasons, to administer that in the way that's best for Jonesboro and the rest of the county. I think that answers your question.
I guess my other question is, obviously, if there's something major, I mean, I guess this is kind of my thought process. 911 call comes in, it's in Jonesboro, closest officer goes, right?
Correct.
Does closest officer include Gas City?
It could if they're not busy.
Yes.
It could. I mean, we're always there to help each other out.
But anybody, any Jonesboro, Gas City, Marion, anybody can pull anybody over in this county, any cop.
That's correct.
So that means anybody would respond, the closest person to it.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of central dispatch was eliminate the transfer of calls, being able to send who's ever closest, no matter where you're at. And we all have, you have territories. You think you'd send the closest car.
But you got to remember, it's every city still have their own jurisdiction and their own policies.
Yeah.
We're countywide.
Yeah, I understand.
I can go into, my guys and gals can patrol in Marion, we can patrol in Jonesboro, Gas City, we can go anywhere.
But ain't this
Marion guys, they'll go to back someone up.
Yeah.
But when I worked at Marion, you're not going to go patrol the county.
No, I mean, if it calls on the county line and it's, whether it's, you know the roads where you got on one side of the street it's county, on the other side it's the city, you send the closest car. And I would think if you was in Jonesboro and the closest car would be Gas City,
But here's what you got to look at, okay?
I think they'd come over.
Marion police are paid by Marion taxpayers. Gas City police are paid by Gas City taxpayers. County police, which incorporates every town, every city in the county, is paid by county taxpayers. So that's why I believe they came to us. One of the reasons they came to us also is because we're a countywide agency. Now, I can tell you this, and I've seen this I've been doing this for 30 years. If there's a call in the county that Marion goes to, they're going to say, hey, call a county officer to take the report.
Oh, absolutely.
Gas City's going to do the same thing. If it happens in Gas City and the county guys are, they may say, hey, call Gas City or Marion to come take the report. This gives us, if they're paying, if Jonesboro is paying us, we're going to respond. And we're going to respond no matter what. Whether you guys approve this or not, we're gonna be there. Maybe it is to their best interest that we just do it. The county continues to provide the services and get nothing for it. I mean, if that's the pleasure of the council, that's the pleasure of the council. Personally, I think that's silly, that we're gonna do something that they're willing to give us money and we're just saying, no, we don't want your payment.
Well, okay, let me just jump in. There's a few things that make sense to me, that there's a liability issue here no matter what we do. Everything looks really good on surface. You're giving us money, we're gonna do a little extra, but you're adding people to your force. So that's not a freebie, that's part of the liability issue. I think that, to Mike's point, yeah, it makes no sense to turn it away, but at the same time, to the rest of the gentleman's point, it just seems strange to me. We're already doing it. So why would the council go, hey, we're gonna throw some money at you, Grant County, we want you over here? Why would you do that? It has to be more than just saying we can't hire people, in my opinion.
To be honest with you, the reason it's happening statewide is because smaller towns can't hire people. I was at the sheriff conference this summer. You would be surprised how many sheriffs stood up and said, hey, we're having a hard time hiring people. I mean, that is a legitimate problem with agencies. You go to MPD, ask them how many they're down, how many they can't hire and get full. Liability is always going to be an issue. We're going to have liability whether we hire 2 more people or not. When we respond to Jonesboro, whether they're paying us any money or not, we're going to have liability. That's part of what we do. That's always going to be an issue. There's no way to avoid the issue of liability. Now, the issues of soft costs, I mean, that's something that we need to look at. That's something that needs to be looked at. But liability, we have that whether we hire 2 people or not.
Do you know, Sheriff, what Jonesboro's total budget is for law enforcement?
No, I don't. He came to me with this request, and I know other agencies have done it. Why he didn't go to Marion or someone else, I don't know. That's something you'd have to ask the mayor. But he came to us with this request, and I'm just trying to provide public safety to the people that I've been elected to serve and protect.
So I guess good news is they're still going to be covered, regardless. I think maybe the trickier issue is going to be, we have a union, and we have a union contract. So I meant to ask Mr. Golifield, I meant to ask you earlier. Is there any issues that you see in understanding the contract about opening up a union? Because we are in a current agreement right now. Is there anything about opening up that agreement and adding officers?
Sheriff Garcia and I have a different opinion on this, but I do have some legal concerns about that. And there's another very important legal issue which really needs to be discussed in executive session, not in a public meeting, because it involves legal ramifications and contractual ramifications. And the council, I'm not sure if you're all fully aware of what these issues are pertaining to that contract, but it definitely needs to be discussed in an executive session, so everybody has all the information to make the best decision they can make.
Well, that's an interesting 11th hour revelation.
I should have asked him when I was thinking about it earlier.
To me, well, I'm not saying there's no aspersions on you, David, but it's a little late for us to be hearing that. And it's almost as suspicious as, why are they wanting to give us this money? That makes me suspicious.
Yeah.
If it's too good to be true, it must not be true. No, it's exactly what you see. It's a public meeting.
Just to answer, respond to what you said, after the last meeting, I met with Sheriff Garcia and went through the concerns that the council has with this. Maybe not you, but some of your compatriots have. And he gave me the union contract. That was last meeting. You only meet once a month. So after looking through the contract, I had some concerns about this legally on behalf of Grant County as a whole. Not Jonesboro, but Grant County. And concerns about contractual issues involving the Grant County Council and potential funding problems. That I'm not sure anyone studied the contract and is aware of these issues, but that's happened since the last meeting. So there's no mechanism really for me other than in a meeting to discuss it unless you call an executive session.
Okay.
I'll be happy to put it out. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think it's very smart. If you want to discuss it now, we can. But I sure would.
If you recommend executive session, I'll go share with your recommendation. I guess I was hearing earlier, though, that under management rights, we could.
Go back and read that clause carefully.
Pardon me?
Go back and read that clause.
What clause?
The clause he was referring to.
Oh, okay.
Study that a little bit.
I think under the council's advice, we ought to table it. And then have Jonesboro also come back with what their budget is for their police force.
Have an executive session prior in December or?
Yeah, you still have another meeting month this year to resolve this issue. It wouldn't take effect until January 1 anyway, would it?
Well, nothing would be in the budget at this point. I mean, we can't put
So
positions.
mechanically, there's still time to discuss it. But there is something very important in that contract that needs to be discussed. It will entail potentially new negotiations in that contract.
Okay.
I'll be happy to fill you in after the meeting.
Yeah, I think, am I hearing a motion then or?
I make a motion to table it until we have a special session, and also have Jonesboro come and give us what their budget is for their police force.
Well, just out of curiosity, what's the relevance of that?
I'm curious of the numbers. I'm a numbers guy.
And I would suggest maybe a format for that is designate some time for the council and myself to discuss this, and then if you want to invite the mayor or the sheriff to come after that to maybe answer any questions which come up after that. So maybe set it for a half hour, an hour, and then continue the meeting after that. Obviously, you've got to meet the open door requirements as far as notice goes to set it. And the issue to be discussed would be contractual and legal.
David, full disclosure here, I want to make sure I'm in good standing. I'm the attorney for Jonesboro, as well as being their council member, as well as being a resident. Is there any problem with me attending the executive session of this body? Because then I have knowledge of that executive session, and I'm still the attorney for Jonesboro.
This is not necessarily a Jonesboro, Grant County issue.
Okay.
So you're fine.
Okay.
I had a motion. Did I have a second? No, second. I have a motion from Mr. Poling, a second from Mr. Hicks to table the Jonesboro discussion till the December meeting and pending also executive session at the December meeting.
So you're saying have the executive session and then schedule time separately for Jonesboro and the sheriff?
Just to help you gentlemen with your schedules, I would pick one night and allocate maybe an hour or a half hour. I would think it would take at least a half hour to discuss, and then another hour to get the information that you're going to want to get after that.
So interested folks that want to come back for when we do deal with this again, that'll be our next meeting in December?
The way I understand it.
Okay. So that
Our
folks
next
may want to
regular
come back.
meeting would be Wednesday, December the 18th.
And Jonesboro is still covered right now. Correct, Sheriff?
We're always there, Todd. So if you guys want to get paid for it or not, that's your decision, not mine.
Do we have any committee reports?
We haven't, do you have to take a roll call on that?
Oh,
First and
yeah.
second and
Yes, we do. Roll call, please.
Good catch.
Public comment?
Public comment?
Evening, gentlemen.
Public comment?
Yes, well, actually, it's committee reports, but
Okay.
I get it at the time.
So any public comment regarding Jonesboro?
Oh, on that, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Just come to the podium. Sorry.
Thank you. Most of the people that were here for public comment already walked out the door, but it's going to be tabled today anyway. The The question is why? Why would we want to do this? Because we're going to continue to spin our wheels. It's great that Grant County Sheriff is going to be there when we call. As a council member, as Board of Works members, we feel responsibility to our citizens. Yes, we have part-time officers to patrol the streets during the day, but sometimes they take vacations. Sometimes they don't want to work on weekends. And we are going to continue to spend hours and tens of thousands of dollars. I believe the budget is about $250,000, by the way. We can get the official number, but it's a substantial portion to pay for the full-time officers. We are going to spend every single meeting discussing how to fill vacant positions. If we have this agreement, they're filled, and we can move on doing the business of Jonesboro. But what the last 4 or 5 years has spent has been replacing chiefs of police that leave, and then trying to fill a position of a chief of police where there was a big scandal where we weren't even sure if he was eligible or not. People argue. We have chiefs in litigation. We're not chiefs, but we have officers in litigation that take up their time. We hire them, we train them, and we leave. We've burned through probably 5 officers for non-monetary reasons. If you were a young, exciting officer, would you want to live in Jonesboro? I live in my dead grandparents' house. My son's the 5th generation on that property. Were it not for that, I'd move to Gas City, because Jonesboro can be kind of lame. And it's small. It's 0.9 square miles, and if all you have to do is drive around 0.9 square miles, even if you get $60,000 a year, you're going to want to move on. So what's in it for us? We're spinning our wheels, and we will continue to spin our wheels if this isn't passed. But you're right, maybe we should just talk to Gas City, because we're tired of spinning our wheels. But we will do whatever we have to do for our citizens, and I understand. It sounds too good to be true for you guys, and I understand maybe I would be skeptical in your position too. But we feel like we're out of options. We've burned through police chiefs. Maybe, we have a new mayor. Maybe it was the old mayor, maybe it was the old police chief. I really don't know. All I know is I was elected this year. I'm tired of spinning my wheels. So, hope we can get a result next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Roll call, please.
Poling?
Yes.
Hicks?
Yes.
Scott?
Aye.
Connor?
No.
Fleming?
Aye.
Middlesworth?
Yes. Motion carries. We'll put on the agenda for the next meeting. Don't let me forget. Any committee reports? Been a long one.
Yes, I'm going to be very brief so we can get out of here. I did just want to give you an update. I know there was some questions that you as a council did receive about radios so appreciate the funding. Director Hicks and I and committee worked through. So all the radios have been ordered for the fire department throughout the county. Spoke to J&K today. They'll start installing county highway radios and hopefully be completed by the end of the year. But just want to give you some quick numbers. 293 pagers were ordered. 106 portable radios, and then 22 mobiles, which we didn't really intend to do in the beginning. But we sat down with J&K and tried to negotiate some numbers. But what we did after talking to the fire chiefs was we agreed that the county would buy the radios. The departments would pay for the installation. That gave us a better break on the mobile. So there again, that was a better deal than what we had anticipated going in. So that's where we are. We want to make sure that we do our due diligence and keep you informed as to where that money is going and how that process works.
We appreciate you taking charge of that and facilitating those radios to the fire units.
I had a call today from Dade County. They are going through some of the same growing pains. We currently have 1,027 radios on our system, and we expect that to grow. That's huge. I know I was part of the group that came and spoke to you a couple of years ago and asked for that funding, and told you all the great things that would happen with that. And we realize it has not materialized yet, but we are moving forward. I think this purchase here, we are still on track July 2025, we go to phase 2. And at that point, we start to see the benefit of all the investment that's been made in that. We'll keep you posted.
Bob, do you know, it's like all those 1,027, I assume, should be on that network, right?
Yes.
I mean, is there nothing we could take off?
So we talked about phase 2. Some of those radios will come off because they're not compatible with phase 2, and it would only take one radio to pull our whole system down. So there again, we are managing that system. Every single radio that is on there, we have a radio ID, so we know what it's capable of doing. There'll be some tough conversations with some folks, I think, in the future because we're going to have to trash some of those older radios, but we can't afford to let a few radios bring our system down. We just can't. So you probably will hear some grumbling about that, but that's progress. We'll be moving forward in that.
No, I'm glad we're able to really fill a void, be able to provide township fire departments with radios and everybody communicating together. And I think there's going to be there's a big benefit to that.
And we sat down with them, and honestly, almost all of them chipped in. Some really couldn't at all, but they, for the most part, there was some buy-in from the other side too. So it wasn't all the county, which I was glad to see.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other committee reports? The jail committee has met a few times now, and BW did present some options in the last 2 commissioner meetings ago. If anyone would like to see them, I do have them this evening. You're more than welcome to share them with you. Our next regular meeting is Wednesday, December the 18th. And it will be the last meeting of the year unless we do have a special session, which will allow the 48-hour.
I would suggest, if you don't mind, Mr. President, that we do that executive session maybe the week after Thanksgiving to give some time for some more information, questions that I'm sure you'll have to be asked.
And that gives you enough time to research everything that you need to, or you?
Yes, but there are questions of individuals that need to be asked. And that'll give you some time if you do it that first week to try to have those answers by that meeting.
December 4th.
I know we'll be at Commissioners Conference the first week of
December. We'll be in it.
Is that all week or?
I think it's to the 5th, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Commissioner School, right?
Yeah, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
We get 2 extra days to be an incoming commissioner.
No, whatever you guys are.
Yeah, I'm thinking that
If it needs to be
second.
the next week, that's fine.
Yeah, the second week of December.
Sure.
Okay. Just want to go ahead and schedule for the 11th. 6, or that work?
What day's the 11th?
The Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Or you want to do a Monday? I mean, I'm open to suggestions.
Monday's fine with me, or Wednesday, either one are good.
Monday or Wednesday?
I can't do it.
No, okay.
So it's Wednesday.
Wednesday it is.
Wednesday, 11th works for me.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Meeting adjourned.